I'm Jason, 44 years old. I live just outside Phoenix, in a rental I used to pay for in full. Every bill, every light bulb, every goddamn crumb on the kitchen floor, I covered it. 3 years ago, I moved in with Amber and her son, Trevor. She said we were building something stable. Said Trevor just needed time. Said a lot of things back then. I wasn't trying to be his dad. I knew that role was haunted by a man long gone. His father, lost in some accident no one talked about in detail. I didn't want to replace him. I just wanted to build a house where no one had to be afraid of the dark. Most days I worked long hours at job sites. The kind of labor that grinds your back into dust but keeps the lights on. Amber stayed home. Freelanced some graphics, took on a client here and there. She handled groceries. I handled everything else. And I didn't complain. Not at first. I told myself it was balance. That we were doing what we could with what we had. Carried what I could. Then I carried what she wouldn't. Then one day I came home early. Heat still bleeding through my shirt. My boots thick with dust. I had this stupid idea to surprise them with barbecue. Something easy. Steak, maybe some corn. A stupid peace offering for no war I'd admitted to myself was happening. I came in through the laundry room. Quiet. And then I heard him, Trevor, on the phone, laughing. He's only here because Mom's afraid to be alone. That's what he said. Like I was some temp. A filler between chapters. Not the man who paid for his internet, his video games, his goddamn orthodontics. Not the one breaking his back in 100-degree heat so they could live like lights never cost a thing. He said it like a joke. But it wasn't. It was gospel. His truth. Unfiltered. Unashamed. I didn't say anything that night. Not to him. Not to Amber. We sat around the table like a real family. I passed the butter. He passed the salt. She smiled like nothing was happening. Maybe she didn't hear it. Maybe she heard it long before I did. But that was the crack. The first one I couldn't unsee. After that, everything became sharper. Every small moment a cut. Trevor sighing when I said Mia was coming over. His room door slamming when she laughed too loud. The way he'd glance at Amber when I asked him to take the trash out. Like waiting for permission to ignore me. And she'd always give it. Wrapped in that little half-smile, half-shrug that said, he's just being a teenager. But it wasn't teen angst. It was contempt, and it had been fed for years. Enabled by silence. Watered with excuses. Mia, my daughter from a previous marriage, visited every other weekend. Sweet kid. Wild imagination. She talked a lot, asked big questions, laughed like she meant it. She never understood why Trevor didn't like her. She asked me once straight up, did I do something wrong? No, sweetheart. You just existed in a house where joy had no place unless it came from the right bloodline. Trevor mocked her to her face, called her chatterbox, rolled his eyes, made jokes about her drawings. Once, she made a card for Amber. Little doodles, hearts, thank you for the pancakes. Trevor saw it and said, you trying to suck up or something? Amber heard that. She looked right at him and said nothing. Not even a hey. Just kept stirring her coffee. That was when I started spending more time in the garage. Fixing things that didn't need fixing. Cleaning tools I never used. Listening to the silence stretch through the walls. There was this time Mia brought a book from school. Something about planets. She wanted to do a science project together. I said sure, and we started building this little solar system model. Trevor came into the kitchen, saw the mess on the table and said, you guys making toys now? Amber glanced up. Trevor grinned. Mia froze. The paintbrush in her hand hovered over Jupiter. I snapped. Told him to knock it off. He scoffed. Whatever. That was the end of that project. Mia never asked to finish it. And Amber? She gave me that same old shrug. That you're overreacting look. That boys will be boys line that women like her use when they don't want to rock the boat they're comfortably floating in. I tried. I really tried. Offered to take Trevor out. To a game. Car show. Whatever. Always met with, I'm good. Always said without looking up from his phone. Like I was interrupting something important. His truck broke down once. Some radiator issue. I offered to help. He said, "Nah, I'll figure it out." But the next day, Amber came to me, asked if I could just give him a little cash for the repair. "He's embarrassed," she said. "Doesn't want to ask." I gave it. Of course I did. And when I saw the truck fixed the next week, Trevor didn't say a word. Just tossed me his usual half nod. Amber told me I shouldn't expect gratitude. "He's still grieving," she said. Grieving? 3 years later, and the only thing that seemed dead in that house was respect. I let it pile up. The comments, the shrugs, the missing dinner plates when Trevor decided he wasn't hungry, the sighs when Mia laughed, the way Amber only ever corrected her son when it was performative, when it was too late, too soft, too far removed from the damage done. And then it happened. The final blow. I just walked in from work. Still had sawdust in my boots. Trevor didn't hear me. He was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, talking to one of his friends. I don't know who. Some voice on speaker, teenage and smug. Trevor laughed. "Nah, he's not my real dad. He's just here to pay. Dude's basically my mom's sugar daddy." I froze in the doorway, my fingers clenched around the strap of my tool bag. My jaw locked. Sugar daddy. Just here to pay. Not my real dad. He laughed again, like it was the funniest damn thing he'd ever said. Like I hadn't paid for the roof over his head, the phone in his hand, the groceries he ate without thanks. And Amber? She walked into the kitchen halfway through the call. Heard it. Looked at me. Looked at Trevor. Didn't say a word. Just turned back around and walked upstairs. That was it. The moment everything inside me finally snapped. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. I just walked past them, slow and steady, to our bedroom. I grabbed a duffel from the closet. Packed 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, some socks, my boots. I left the keys on the kitchen counter. Wallet in my pocket. Phone in hand. As I walked out, Trevor said nothing. Just kept laughing with his friend. Amber followed me to the door. Asked me where I was going. "Out," I said. "For how long?" she asked. I turned, looked her straight in the eye. "As long as it takes." Then I walked into the heat of the Phoenix night, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt something like relief. Because finally, I wasn't standing where I wasn't wanted. I didn't slam the door, didn't peel out of the driveway. That would have given them too much. Drama, tension, a story to twist. I walked out quiet, calm, one boot after the other on the cracked concrete. The heat from the sun still in the air, clinging to the stucco walls like sweat. Got in my truck, shut the door, exhaled. Then I sat. 10 minutes, maybe more. My hands on the wheel, my jaw locked, my eyes staring through the windshield at the house I'd been financing for 3 years. Beige siding, sun-bleached, weeds at the base of the fence I always meant to fix. A house full of things I bought, full of silence I paid for, and not a single person watching me leave. I started the engine, drove 2 blocks, pulled into a gas station, parked in the far corner under a flickering lamp, and opened my banking app. Took 22 minutes. Every card, every automatic payment, every linked account, canceled, frozen, or redirected. The landlord's deposit? Gone. Utilities in my name? Transferred to hers. Streaming services, phone bills, Trevor's Xbox subscription, his school cafeteria account. Every line that tied my labor to their comfort snapped. Not out of spite, out of clarity. Because once someone tells you to your face you're just a wallet, you stop filling theirs. I didn't text Amber. Didn't warn her. Let the silence do what words couldn't. They wanted to live without me? Good. Let them start with the bills. I drove west. Found a cheap motel with weekly rates. Took the room next to a vending machine that groaned every hour. But it had a bed, a shower, Wi-Fi. No tension clawing through the walls. No stepson whispering contempt. No partner pretending that silence wasn't betrayal. That night Mia called. She always called me on Fridays. Routine. Even when she was with her mom, she'd check in. Asked how work was. What I had for dinner. If I remembered to rest. When I told her I'd left Amber's house, she went quiet. Is this about Trevor? she finally asked. I didn't lie. Yeah. A pause. Then, it was getting mean over there. I swallowed hard. You felt it. I always felt it. I asked her how she felt being out of that house. She was quiet for a second, then said, "It's calmer now, like I can just be me." That gutted me, because that's what I'd failed to give her, peace. I let her walk into a house where she was treated like an inconvenience. I let it slide. I told myself Trevor would come around, that Amber would step in. But I knew the truth. I'd known it for months. So I told Mia the plan: we'd find our own place. Small, sure. Simple. But ours. She cried when I said it. Not sad tears, relief. The next morning I started calling rentals. Cheap listings. Places with sunlight and locks that worked. Found one on the edge of town. Half the size of Amber's, twice the warmth. 1 bedroom, tiny kitchen, no yard. But it was clean. And quiet. And no one rolled their eyes at my daughter. Mia moved in with me the next weekend. Her mom didn't fight it. She'd seen the way Amber treated her. Seen how thin Mia had gotten. How quiet. She packed her bags herself. Hugged her mom. Then stepped into my truck like she was boarding a lifeboat. That first night in our new place, we had frozen pizza and watched reruns on a secondhand couch. She laughed. Loud. Free. No one told her to be quiet. No one muttered under their breath. No one left the room. She looked around the place and said, "It's small, but it feels full." I didn't cry, but I wanted to. Meanwhile, back at Amber's, the unraveling began. A week passed. No rent. No groceries. No Netflix. No money hitting Trevor's school account. No gas card for his truck. His prepaid phone plan? Cancelled. I imagined him standing in line at the grocery store with his cart full of snacks and nowhere to swipe. I imagined the cashier saying, "Card declined." I imagined the heat in his ears, the twitch in his jaw. Let him feel it. Let him feel the weight I carried without thanks. Amber didn't call. Not for the first 5 days. Then, late one night, I got a message. "Hey, rent didn't go through. Did something change?" I stared at it for a long time. Then typed, "Yeah, I left." She replied, "I know that. I mean the payments." I didn't answer. Next day she called. I let it ring. Then came the text. "Trevor needs lunch money." I laughed. Loud. Alone in my tiny kitchen. They hadn't even noticed the foundation crumbling. Because they never bothered to look at what held it up. Another week passed. A knock came on their door. I knew it would. Landlord asking where the rent was. Internet cut out. Lights flickered. Water bill turned pink. Trevor picked up weekend shifts bagging groceries. I know because I saw him at the store on 8th and Clarendon, wearing a polo 2 sizes too big, his name tag peeling at the edges. He didn't see me. I stood at the far end of the checkout lane with Mia, buying cereal and milk. He looked pale, tired, older than 17. Good. Let him learn what it feels like to carry his own weight. Amber showed up 2 weeks later. Knocked on my door like we hadn't gone to war. She looked hollow. Eyes sunken, lips dry, hands wringing the hem of her blouse like she was trying to fold her guilt into something neat. "I didn't know it was that bad," she said. I let her talk. Said she thought Trevor just needed time. Said she was afraid to come down on him too hard. Said she thought I understood. Then she looked at Mia, who was sprawled on the couch, headphones on, painting her nails like the world was finally safe again. "I didn't mean to hurt her," Amber whispered. "You didn't have to mean it," I said. "You just had to watch it happen." She nodded. Took it. No defense. Then she said something that surprised me. "I let him become someone who thought love didn't cost anything. Because I kept making it cost you." That hit harder than any insult. She didn't ask me to come back. She knew better. She asked if I'd help for Trevor. Just this once. I said no. She cried. Not loud. Just this steady, leaking grief. But I didn't move. Because once you've let someone strip you of dignity, you don't hand it back. Later that week, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. Sloppy cursive. From Trevor. He said he was sorry. Said he'd been a brat. Said he didn't realize how much I paid for, how much I gave up. Said he used me as a punching bag. And that he finally understood what I meant when I said, respect doesn't have to wait until you're older. I folded the letter, put it in a drawer, didn't write back. Apologies are nice. Change is better. Amber and Trevor moved out of that house a month later. Couldn't afford it. Last I heard, they're renting a place near the edge of town. Older building. Loud neighbors. Bad plumbing. Trevor works overnight now. Graveyard shift. He told a mutual friend it's hard keeping up with bills. That his phone got shut off twice. That he misses having a stocked fridge. Good. Maybe now he understands what I meant when I said peace isn't free. That it costs someone's back. Someone's silence. Someone's pride. Mia and I? We wake up slow. Eat breakfast by the window. Sometimes she plays music too loud. Sometimes I let her. Because there's no one left to scold her for being herself. And that, more than anything, is what I paid for. Regret doesn't knock. It drags its feet up your driveway and waits until you open the door out of habit. It was a Sunday. The kind of quiet morning Mia and I had started to cherish. Pancakes. Window open. Some jazz station humming low on the kitchen speaker. I was washing dishes when the knock came. 3 soft taps. Hesitant. Too slow to be a neighbor. Too careful to be a stranger. Amber. She stood there like she'd aged 10 years in 4 weeks. Same woman, different weight. Her skin hung looser around her eyes. Hair pulled into a lazy bun. Sleeves too long for her arms. Not a trace of makeup. No effort left. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She didn't sit. Just hovered near the door like she was afraid the walls would recognize her. Mia was in her room. She didn't come out. I didn't call for her. I wanted to say sorry. Amber began, her voice dry like she hadn't had water in days. I know that doesn't do anything. I know it doesn't fix it. But I need to say it. I nodded. Didn't speak. Let her fill the silence she used to avoid. I let it get that bad, she continued. I thought, God. I don't even know what I thought. I guess I believed if I kept things light, it would all work itself out. She ran a hand through her hair, swallowed hard. I lost control a long time ago. With Trevor. With the house. With us. I kept pretending it wasn't happening because the alternative scared me. The idea of losing him, after losing his father, She trailed off. Looked at the floor. I wasn't afraid of losing you, she added. And that's what makes it worse. That landed. She'd said the quiet part loud. I thought you'd stay, she said. No matter how hard it got. I finally spoke. I thought you'd step in. No matter how bad it got. She winced. I should've. God, I should've. I leaned back against the counter. Folded my arms. Trevor's not just some troubled kid, I said. He's a mirror. He reflects what you allowed. Amber didn't argue. She nodded slowly, like each motion hurt. He wrote you a letter, she said. I got it. Did you read it? I did. And I didn't throw it out. She waited. Hoped. I let the hope die in the silence between us. Then she started talking again. About Trevor. About the bills. About the eviction notice taped to their door. The final straw. She said she thought the landlord would give her more time. He didn't. They had 2 weeks to vacate. She said Trevor cried when he realized what it meant. He asked me where you were, she said. I raised an eyebrow. I thought he said I wasn't family. She nodded. He said that too. A lot of things. But it turns out, when the lights go out and the fridge is empty, words don't carry as far. She gave a bitter laugh. Then stopped herself. I came to ask if you'd consider helping. No, I said. That was it. One word. No venom. Just stone. I figured, she said. Then she looked at me. Not like a partner. Not like an ex. But like a woman waking up from a long, bad dream. You know what I realized? She asked. I think I envied you. Your discipline. Your clarity. I kept making excuses because it was easier than doing what you did, drawing a line. I drew a line too late, I said. But you drew it. She looked down at her hands. I'm scared for him, she whispered. He's scared too. Good. Maybe that's the start of something. She didn't stay long. Just long enough to let me know the storm had reached her door, and that it had her soaked through. After she left, Mia came into the kitchen. Was that her? Yeah. She okay? No. Mia nodded. She didn't ask anything else. Just hugged me around the waist and said, "Thanks for leaving." That night, I sat at the table and reread Trevor's letter. The paper was wrinkled, like he'd rewritten it a few times. There were crossouts, smudged ink. A few sentences stood out. I thought being tough meant pushing people away. I thought you were just trying to replace my dad. Now I realize you were just trying to show up, and I treated that like it didn't matter. I'm sorry. I didn't write him back. Not because I didn't want to, because I wasn't ready to. 2 weeks later, Amber texted. They'd moved. A smaller place. Old carpet. Fewer windows. No AC. On the edge of town. She said Trevor got a job at a gas station. Night shift. Minimum wage. Said he hates it. Good. Let him hate it. Let him work through the nights I used to carry in silence. Let him find out what it means to come home with your clothes soaked in sweat and your back screaming, just to find someone ate the last of the leftovers and didn't bother saying thank you. I saw him again at the store. He didn't see me. He was mopping an aisle. Had a splatter of something dark on his sleeve. Looked like coffee. Looked tired. Older. Smaller. I didn't say anything. Just watched for a moment. Then turned down another aisle. I wasn't avoiding him. I just didn't owe him that moment. That week, Mia asked me if I thought Trevor meant his apology. I think he meant the part about being scared. I said, "Is that enough?" No. A month passed. Then another. One afternoon I got a knock. Trevor. Not with a letter. Not with tears. Just standing there on the stoop of our little apartment. Hands in his pockets. Shoulders curled like someone trying to take up less space. "I wanted to say it in person," he said. I stepped outside. Closed the door behind me. He took a breath. "I was wrong. About everything." I waited. "You didn't have to stay as long as you did. You didn't have to pay for anything. I thought you were just there because you wanted to control us." I blinked. "Control you? That's what Mom said. Sometimes. When you'd get upset." That stopped me cold. He saw my expression. Backpedaled. "I don't think that anymore," he said quickly. "I know now. I know you were the only one actually holding it all together." He looked up. "I don't expect anything. I just wanted to say it. Face to face." I nodded. Okay. That's all I have for you right now." He nodded. Took it. No resistance. "I get it," he said. "Thanks for listening." Then he turned and walked back down the stairs. No begging. No plea for help. Just silence. And in that silence, I heard something new. Maybe not change, but consequence. Later that night, I told Mia. She didn't say much. Just asked, "You okay?" I shrugged. Getting there. Because healing doesn't come in big gestures. Comes in quiet moments. In consistent boundaries. In choosing not to reopen wounds just because the person who cut you finally found a bandage. Trevor didn't come back after that. He didn't text. Didn't ask for money. Didn't try to move in. And that told me more than his apology ever could. Amber texted occasionally. Updates mostly. Said she was thinking about therapy. Said she finally admitted to herself how much she'd let slide. Said Trevor had started journaling. I didn't ask for proof. Because this wasn't about redemption. It was about removal. I didn't need them to become better people. I just needed them out of my life long enough to remember who I was before they started eroding me. Mia and I built new routines. Weekend hikes. Grocery lists on the fridge. Every Sunday we make breakfast together. Pancakes. Her tradition. One morning, she looked at me and said, "I like the quiet here." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Because now, the quiet doesn't mean something is broken. It means nothing is being buried. The first time I realized the silence wasn't hollow anymore. I was standing in our little kitchen, slicing an apple for Mia, late afternoon. sunlight pooling in through the blinds, soft and gold. She was doing homework at the table, humming some pop song under her breath, swinging her legs beneath the chair. It hit me, like some quiet revelation. No one was walking on eggshells. No tension in the walls. No muttered insults. No boy sulking in the next room, hating my daughter for existing. Just a home. Small, imperfect, but ours. We'd built a routine. Wake up early. Eat together. I'd drop her off at school, then head to a job site or freelance gig. Evenings were quiet. Sometimes we'd walk to the park. Sometimes we just sat on the porch and let the night settle around us. We didn't talk much about what came before, but it lingered. It always does. Grief doesn't vanish. It just gets quieter. Sometimes I'd catch Mia looking at me like she wanted to ask something she didn't have the words for. Other times, she just curled up next to me on the couch, and that was enough. That quiet body next to mine. That weight that meant trust. One night, we passed a family at the park. Mom, Dad, 2 kids. They were laughing, chasing each other through the grass. Mia watched them for a while, then said, "Do you think Trevor ever feels like he lost a family?" I thought about that. I said, "He never realized there was a family to lose until it was gone." Mia nodded, didn't ask anything else. There's a quiet reckoning that comes when you stop carrying people who never asked to be lifted. I used to think love was measured in endurance, in how much you could take before breaking. I don't believe that anymore. Now I believe love is measured by what you protect, who you shield. And sometimes that means shielding yourself. Amber texted again. A string of small updates. Trevor's job, her therapy, something about getting back on track. No demands. Just little signals, like she was casting out a net in case I wanted to respond. I didn't. It wasn't anger. I'd let go of that. Anger eats at you long after the people who caused it have moved on. It was clarity. There are people who only love what you give them. Not who you are, but what you provide. Comfort, money, security, the illusion of stability. They love you like a faucet, until it stops running. I turned mine off, and I watched what dried up. Amber didn't miss me. She missed what I absorbed. Trevor didn't miss me. He missed the frictionless life my labor gave him. What they mourned wasn't a man, it was a service. So I became something else. A father to my daughter. A man in his own home. A person who didn't live in someone else's apology. Mia started painting again. She'd stopped for a while, around the time Trevor made fun of her drawings. Called them childish. Said no one would ever want to hang them up. One night, I came home from work and found her sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by watercolors and newspaper clippings. She was working on this huge canvas. A sunrise breaking through a mountain. Bold colors. No shame. I watched her from the doorway for a long time. She didn't notice me. She was humming again. And I realized, this is what peace looks like. Not perfection. Just the absence of fear. Just freedom. Later, I hung the painting on our wall. She laughed. Said it wasn't ready. I told her it was perfect. The next weekend, we visited a farmer's market. Just the 2 of us. Bought a plant for the window, a loaf of fresh bread, and a candle that smelled like cedar. At one booth, I ran into an old coworker. He asked how things were with the family. I paused, then said, "We're good. It's just me and Mia now." He nodded, said something about how lucky I was. I thought about that for a long time. Was I lucky? Maybe not in the way most people mean. I didn't win anything. I didn't stumble into fortune. But I survived a house that pretended I wasn't there. And I came out the other side lighter. One evening, months later, I got a letter. Handwritten. Careful. From Trevor. A second one. He said he was still working nights. That it wasn't easy. That he'd started paying for his own classes at the community college. "I used to think you left because you were mad," he wrote. "Now I think you left because you had to." He ended it with, "If you ever want to talk, I'll be here." I didn't write back. Not because I hated him. Because sometimes growth means learning to live with silence. Letting things end where they ended. Not reopening wounds just to prove you can handle the blood. Mia and I sat on the porch that night. She was reading. I was drinking coffee. The sky turned that soft orange-pink, the one that always reminds me of dry heat and quiet roads. And I felt it. Peace. Real peace. Not silence bought with tolerance. Not a house where you have to earn your right to be heard. Just space. Safe, clean, earned. Amber still texts sometimes. Holidays. Small check-ins. No guilt anymore. Just absence. Like she knows. She asked once if I'd ever consider visiting. For old time's sake. I didn't answer. Because the truth is, I've already visited that place 100 times in my mind. And every time it looks the same. Cold floors. Closed doors. A boy with a smirk. A woman with a shrug. I left for a reason. I stay gone for the same one. Some losses aren't tragedies. They're releases. Some exits aren't escapes. They're arrivals. So here we are. A small apartment with second-hand furniture. A daughter who laughs. A man who sleeps through the night. That's enough. It has to be. Because peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of boundaries. It's the voice that says, I won't live unloved just to keep others comfortable. It's the choice to close a door and not leave it cracked. It's breakfast with someone who sees you. The silence that doesn't sting. It's a house with one bedroom and no ghosts. So tell me, was I cruel for leaving? Or did I finally learn how to stay gone? Would you have waited longer? Carried more? Swallowed the next insult? Or would you, like me, have finally stepped into the quiet and found your own name waiting?